Hello everyone, welcome to our MDM M009. This is your plan change in development. So basically this is a 3-unit course. It has no prerequisite. So our course description is to know how organizations build their capacity to change and achieve greater effectiveness, to determine the interventions they use to bring about change in different levels of their organizations, and of course, to perhaps answer core questions, that would set the foundation of your MDM M009. So basically, this is designed to provide students with a conceptual framework addressing the strategic importance of organization development in various agencies, organizations, and other settings. So it serves as a core course for the Master of Development Management degree. As such, it will be useful for those considering a career in government or academic research, as well as those interested in developing applied organization development skills for public service or business. Okay, so our general objectives are the following. So to understand theoretical and practical underpinnings of organization development, to describe the process of organization development, to identify a range of tools and interventions that are used to diagnose organizations and demonstrate competencies or competency in the conduct of analysis of a public organization using methods and perspectives discussed in class. Okay, so last time I already showed you our course content and you already chose your topics. Okay, so here are the texts that are recommended for you to read. Okay, you kindly read the book of Brown, so An Experiential Approach to Organizational Development, and the book of Cummings and Worley, Understanding Organizational Development. Okay, all right, so let's take a look at the overview of organization development. Okay, let's take a look at the different definition of organization development. So we have several authors who provided the definition of organization development. So first, let's take a look at the definition of Warner Burke. So a planned process of change in an organization's culture through the utilization of behavioral science, technology, research, and theory. So Burke's description focuses attention on culture as the target of change. Okay, according to Wendell French, it is a long-range effort to improve an organization's problem-solving capabilities and its ability to cope with changes in its external environment with the help of external or internal behavioral scientists, consultants, or change agents, as they are sometimes called. So according to French, the definition is basically concerned with organization development's long-term interest in the use of consultants. Okay, and then finally, according to Richard Beckhardt, it is an effort planned organization-wide and managed change from the top to increase organizations' effectiveness and health through planned interventions in the organization's process using behavioral science knowledge. So according to Beckhardt, the definition basically address the process of organization development. Okay, moving on. So other definitions okay, would include the definition of Warner Burke and David Bradford. So it is a system-wide process of planned change aimed toward improving overall organization effectiveness by way of enhanced congruence of such key organization dimensions as external environment, mission, strategy, leadership, culture, structure, information and reward system, and work policies and procedures. So Burke and Bradford's definition broadens the range and interest of our organization development. So organization development is a field of planned change itself. As it says here, organization development is a system-wide application and transfer of behavioral science to the planned development, improvement, and reinforcement of the strategies, structures, and process that lead to organization's effectiveness. Okay, so let's take a look at the different trends in shaping change in organizations. So first, we have here globalization. So globalization is changing the markets and environments in which organizations operate as well as the way they function. So globalization may include, of course, new governments, new leadership, what else? New markets, new countries are emerging and creating a new global economy with both, of course, opportunities and threats. Okay, so another trend, would be information technology. So information technology is redefining the traditional business model by changing how work is performed, how knowledge is used, and how the cost of doing business is calculated. So information technology basically talks about the way an organization collects, what else? Stores, manipulates, uses, and transmits information. Okay. With lower costs or maybe increase the value and quality of products and of course services. Okay, there you go. Another is managerial innovation. So managerial innovation has responded to the globalization and information technology trends and has accelerated their impact on organizations. So managerial innovations would include maybe new organizational forms such as networks, strategic alliance, virtual corporations, what else? Which can provide organizations with new ways of thinking about how to manufacture goods and, of course, deliver services. So, organization development plays a key role in helping organizations change themselves. So, it helps organizations assess themselves and their environments and revitalize and rebuild their strategies, what else? Structures and process. So organization development helps organization members go beyond the surface, okay, changes to transform the underlying assumptions and values governing their behavior. Okay, moving on. So these are your historical background of organization development. So as currently practiced, organization development emerged from 5 major backgrounds or stems as shown in the figure on the right. So we have here laboratory training, action research, normative approach, quality of life, and of course, strategic change. First, let's take a look at your laboratory training background. So pioneered laboratory training or T group. So when we speak of the T group, it is where people actually reacted to data about their own behavior. So it's a small unstructured group in which participants learn from their own interactions, and evolving group process about such issues as interpersonal relations, personal growth, leadership, and group dynamics. Okay, so your practical aspect of T group techniques for organizations gradually became known as your team building. So it is a process of helping work groups become more effective in accomplishing tasks and satisfying member needs. Okay, so team building is one of the most common and institutionalized forms of organization development today. Okay, moving on, so action research and survey feedback background. So this is a process of action, research, and survey feedback. So research needed to be closely linked to action if organization members were to use it to manage change. It is also a key component of most action research studies was systematic collection of data or survey data that were fed back to the client organization. So among the pioneering action research studies were the work of Lowen and his students at Harwood Manufacturing Company, and the basic research by Lester Koch and John French on overcoming resistance to change. So the latter study led to the development of participative management as a means of getting employees involved in planning and managing change. Next is your normative background. So this is a belief that human relations approach represented a one best way to manage organization. Okay, so Blake and Moton's grid organization development originated from research about managerial and organizational effectiveness that resulted in a normative model of leadership. This is the managerial grid. So according to the managerial grid, an individual's style can be described according to his or her concern for production and concern for people. Okay. Next is, of course, your productivity and quality of life background. So it talks about the discovery of self-managing work groups as a form of work design. In the US, the QWL, oh, by the way, the QWL originated in Europe and it made its way to the United States. So it was first defined in terms of people's reaction to work, particularly individual outcomes related to job satisfaction and mental health, and was then defined in terms of specific techniques and approaches used for improving work, or it's known as your quality circles. So basically, self-managing work groups were composed, of course, of multi-skilled workers who were given the necessary autonomy and information to design and manage their own work or their own task performances. So the QWL, or the quality of work life, was viewed as synonymous with methods such as your job enrichment, self-managed teams, and labor management committees. So today, QWL activity continues primarily under the banner of employee involvement, or your EI, as well as total quality management, and of course your Six Sigma programs. So these are basically popularized in Japan. The quality circles are group of employees trained in problem-solving methods that meet regularly to resolve work environment, productivity, and quality control concerns, and to develop more efficient way of working. Yon. Okay, and then we also have here your strategic change background. So it involves improving the alignment among an organization's environment, strategy, and organization design. So strategic change interventions include efforts to improve both the organization's relationship to its environment and the fit between its technical, political, and of course, cultural system. So the need for strategic change is usually triggered by some major disruption to the organization, such as the lifting of regulatory requirements. What else? A technological breakthrough, or maybe a new chief executive officer coming in from outside the organization. Okay, so according to Heraclitus, a philosopher, okay, so according to him, the only thing that is constant is change. Everything changes. Nothing is permanent. All right, anyways, moving on, let's take a look at the nature of planned change. So, we have here the two types of change that may take place in the organization. Okay, so we have your random or haphazard change and your planned change. So in your random or haphazard change, it's forced on the organization by external environment, a type of change that is not prepared for. It is simply, or it simply occurs and is dealt with it as it happens. So an example for this could be downsizing, where sizable number of employees, okay, are sadly laid off. All right, so we also have here your planned change, results from deliberate attempts to modify organizational operations in order to promote improvement. So example would be your total quality management, or your TQM, which focuses on your continuous change or continuous improvement rather. Okay. All right, so we have here the different theories of planned change, also known as your theories of changing. So these frameworks describe the activities that must take place to initiate and carry out successful organizational change. So first is Lowens' change model, action research model, and positive model. So all approaches to organization development rely on some theory about planned change. So all theories describe the different stages through which planned change may be affected in organizations, and explain the temporal process of applying organization development through methods to help organization members manage change. Okay, let's take a look at Lowens' change model. So Kurt Lowen conceived of change as modification of those forces keeping a system's behavior stable. Specifically, a particular set of behavior at any moment in time is the result of two groups of forces. What are those groups? Those striving to maintain the status quo, okay, and those pushing for change. So when both sets of forces are equal, current behaviors are maintained in what Lowen termed as a state of quasi-stationary equilibrium. To change that state, one can increase those forces pushing for change, decrease those forces maintaining the current state, or apply some combination of both. So we have here your unfreeze, okay, change or refreeze. In your unfreeze, you try now to reduce those forces maintaining the organization's behavior at its present level. And then you move to changing or moving. It involves intervening in the system to develop new behaviors, values, and attitudes through change or changes in organizational structure and perhaps process. And then the final stage would be refreezing. Stabilizes the organization as a new state of equilibrium, frequently accomplished through the use of supporting mechanisms that reinforce the new organizational state, such as organizational culture, rewards, and of course, structures. So, Lowens' model provides a general framework for understanding organizational change because the three steps of change are relatively broad. Considerable effort has gone into elaborating them. Okay. So your action research model focuses on plan change as a cyclical process in which initial research about the organization provides information to guide subsequent action. So the results of the action are assessed to provide further information to guide further action and so on. So this iterative cycle of research and action involves considerable collaboration among organization members and of course your OD or organization development practitioners. So it places heavy emphasis on data gathering and diagnosis prior to action planning and implementation, as well as careful evaluation of results after action is taken. So there are 8 main steps in your action research model. So problem identification, consultation with a behavioral science expert, data gathering and preliminary diagnosis, feedback to a key client or group, joint diagnosis of a problem or of the problem, joint action planning, action, and of course data gathering after the action. Okay, and then we have here your positive model. So your positive model focuses on the organization's problem and or problems and how they can be resolved so it functions better. It focuses on what the organization is actually doing right. So it helps members understand their organization when it is working at its best and build off those capabilities to achieve even better results. So we also have here the 5 phases of your positive model. Okay. So initiate the inquiry, inquire into into best practices, discover the themes, envision a preferred future, design and deliver ways to create future. Okay, there you go. So here is a general model of your plan change. So the 3 models of plan change suggest a general framework for plan change as shown in this figure. So the framework describes the 4 basic activities that practitioners and organization members jointly carry out in organization development. So the arrows connecting the different activities in the model show the typical sequence of events. So from entering, contracting, to diagnosing, to planning and implementing change, to evaluating and institutionalizing change. So the lines connecting the activities emphasize the organizational change, or emphasized that organizational change is not straightforward. So linear process. It's not straightforward linear process, but involves considerably overlap and feedback among the activities. Okay, there you go. So moving on. So basically, the general model of planned change describes how organization development process typically unfolds in organizations. In actual practice, the different phases are not nearly as orderly as the model implies. Okay? OD, or organization development practitioners, tend to modify or adjust the stages to fit the need or needs of the situation. So steps in plan change may be implemented in variety of ways depending on the client's need and goals, and the change agent's skills and values, and of course the organization's context. Thus, plan change can vary enormously from one situation to another. So to understand the differences better, plan change can be contrasted across situation on three key dimensions. So we have the magnitude of organizational change, the degree to which the client system is organized, and whether the setting is domestic or, of course, international. So we have here the different types of plan change. We have magnitude or organizational change. Okay, so in here we also have your incremental change and your fundamental change. When we speak of your incremental change, it involves limited dimensions and level of the organizations, such as, of course, the decision-making process of work groups. Your fundamental change is directed at significantly altering how organization operates. So next is the degree of organization. So we have here over-organized and under-organized. When we speak of your over-organized, various dimensions such as leadership styles, jobs designs, organization structure, and policies and procedures are too rigid and overly defined for effective task performance. Under-organized, we're talking about too little constraint or regulation for effective task performance. Okay. Okay, moving on. So we also have your domestic or international setting. If it's developed in Western societies, your OD or organization development reflects the underlying values and assumptions of those cultural settings, including equality, involvement, and of course, short time horizons. Cultures, on the other hand, of most Asian countries are more hierarchical and status conscious. Okay, they're less open to discussing personal issues. They are more concerned with saving face and have a longer time horizon for results. Okay. So let's take a look at your OD practitioners or practitioner. So to implement a program of plan change, the management must first identify the gap between the current situation and some desired condition. So the OD practitioner helps the organization identify the difference between where it is and where it would like to be. and then proceeds to design and implement appropriate interventions. So in every large-scale plant change program, some person or group is usually designated to lead the change. Sometimes it is the OD practitioner. So the practitioner then is a change leader. So a person leading or guiding the process of change in an organization is your OD practitioner. Okay. So who are these OD practitioner? Basically, those people specializing in OD as profession, those specializing in fields related to OD or organization development, such as reward system, organization design, total quality, information technology, and business strategy. Another OD practitioners are managers and administrators who have gained competence in OD and who apply it to their own work areas. Okay, so we have your internal practitioner and of course your external practitioners. Internal practitioner is already a member of the organization, either a top executive or an organization member who initiates change in his or her work group, or a member of organization development or human resource department, or human resources department rather. Your external practitioner, on the other hand, is brought in from outside the organization as OD specialists. Someone not previously associated with the client system, or it's often referred to as the consultant. Okay, so the literature about OD competencies reveals a mixture of personality traits, experiences, knowledge, and skills presumed to lead effective practice. So for example, research on how characteristics of successful change practitioners yields the following list of attributes and abilities. What are these? Diagnostic ability, basic knowledge of behavior science and techniques, empathy, knowledge of the theories and methods within the consultant's own discipline, goal setting ability, problem solving ability, ability to perform self-assessment, what else? Ability to see things objectively, imagination, flexibility, honesty, consistency, and perhaps trust. Although these qualities and skills are laudable, okay, there has been relatively little consensus about their importance to effective OD practice. So basically, these are the basic skills and knowledge of, okay, an effective OD practitioner. So you need to have intrapersonal skills or self-management competence. You have to have the ability to inquire into yourself. You must have the personal centering to know your own values, feelings, purposes, as well as the integrity to behave responsibly in helping relationships with others. Another is your interpersonal skills. So practitioners must create and maintain effective relationships with individuals and groups within the organization and help them gain the competence necessary to solve their own problems. Okay, so there you go. So this ends my introduction to organization development. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you for watching the pre-recorded discussion.